Heavy, at least to me, is the most iconic and recognizable TF2 character. He appears the most out of any of the mercenaries in promotional material, and even on the Steam page for TF2, as he's the one in focus. So clearly he's pretty important. Despite this, Heavy is one of the least played and main classes in TF2, which contradicts all of this. But why? Why is Heavy played so little compared to other classes? Is Heavy bad? Or is there something else to him? Well, first off, let's start off with the basics. Heavy is slow. Like, really slow. It's almost like he's the slowest class in the game, and for good reason. He has a lot of HP and damage output with his primary minigun, so him being slow balances things out. But, because he's so slow, compared to other classes, he feels more drawn out and boring to play for many people. Whether it be rocket jumping as soldier, sticky jumping as demo man, wrangler jumping with engineer, or even just running as scout, people love speed, which Heavy clearly lacks. Now there are ways around the speed issue, as Heavy has methods of increasing his speed. The problem, however, is that these methods suck. Like, they're terrible, I'm gonna be honest. Boxer Heavy, which uses the buffalo stick sandwich, essentially replaces your primary with your melee weapon, which was the best part about Heavy, making you useless against things like a pyro or even a scout that just backpedals away from you. The gloves are rushing urgently, or the Gru, speed up Heavy as well, but at the cost of some HP. So its best use is getting to the front lines faster, which isn't exactly exciting. The eviction notice also does this, but like, just don't use the eviction notice, it's kinda shit. So if those two ruled out, Heavy is left as a slow class, making him less enjoyable to play compared to others, so people play him less. Secondly, Heavy's weaknesses. Heavy might be slow, sure, but this doesn't mean he's ineffective. He has 300 HP and a monstrously powerful weapon in the minigun. All the speed does is balance him out. However, this doesn't mean Heavy is invincible, as he has his limits, which ironically come from his speed. Spy and Sniper. Being weak to these classes is a problem because they're super common, meaning you'll die a lot from them, so eventually you're gonna get sick of it, making Heavy less likable. Sniper and Spy are also two classes that can insta-kill others in the game, through headshots and backstabs, so actually getting around them is a difficult task, especially in the middle of combat where they shine the most. You can't be turning around every few seconds, or be avoiding entire sightlines, because that just makes you ineffective at doing what you're supposed to do. You know, killing people. Basically, avoiding these two as Heavy is a nightmare, making him harder to play and less enjoyable as a class. You might be thinking, all classes have counters, why does this have to hurt Heavy the most? Well, a lot of other classes have methods with dealing with their counters. Pyro has the scorch shot to deal with snipers, Scout has the bonk to deal with engineers and their sentries, and said engineer can just watch over his sentries to stop them from getting sapped by Spy. All of these methods aren't guaranteed to work, but they're still available to the class. Heavy doesn't really have a response to Sniper or Spy. The Fists of Steel could work against Sniper, but against Spy it doesn't do much. And before you say it, no, turning around isn't countering Spy, that's just game sense, which you need to have anyways. Speaking of Spy and Sniper, this brings me into my last point. Although Heavy may be really strong and powerful in the right circumstances, he isn't flashy like the other two are. What I mean by this is that Heavy is far more simple than Spy or Sniper are. His gameplay is more simplistic and often repetitive, which puts people off from maining him as a class. Heavy arguably has the least variety out of the mercs, with the only notable subclasses he has being Boxer Heavy and Fat Scout, with one of them just being a bad class and the other still having regular available Heavy. Using a minigun is basic as well, it's mostly just WM1 like Pyro, but unlike Pyro, Heavy is so slow that it just doesn't feel the same. Lastly, Heavy requires patience, such as when to rev up your minigun, when to retreat, when to push. You could say this applies to all classes, especially Spy, but what's more important is that this stacks with all the other problems Heavy has, making him less popular compared to other classes like Soldier or Spy. So, should you use Heavy? Absolutely. I won't dive into too much detail here, but Heavy is still, despite these flaws, a powerful class. His minigun's sheer DPS ensures that Heavy wins most 1v1s, with his high HP making him able to tank many hits, while also making chip damage redundant in most instances. Even though he doesn't have much variety, his miniguns are still good options, with the Tomislav arguably being the best one. He has self-sustained through the lunchbox items, as well as team support, and his melees, while mostly redundant for battle, have good utility, whether it be for speed or extra defense. In my experience playing Heavy, it's quite easy to top score as well, because of the hit scan nature of the miniguns, especially if you have a medic nearby. Speaking of which, Heavy being a power class makes him one of the best abusers of Ubercharge, being able to make him maintain a push, securing quick victories. Every class has downsides, and Heavy is no exception, but being able to get around those downsides is a part of a learning curve in TF2, So refusing to play Heavy because of those reasons suggests you haven't truly given Heavy the time he needs to shine. Trust me when I say this, Heavy is a solid class in TF2, and I really recommend you play him more. He isn't that bad. And with that being said, this is the end of that, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in another video.